Gondor's last fortress in Mordor cannot fall.
Welcome back to another episode of Honest Reviews. Today I'm looking at Middle-earth: Shadow of War, published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment and released on September 28th, 2017.
Need to keep quiet.
Shadow of War borrows heavily from its predecessor, Shadow of Mordor, which in turn borrowed a lot of fighting mechanics from the Assassin's Creed franchise. It's a third-person action role-playing game set in the Lord of the Rings universe during the 60-year gap between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. It tells the story of Talion, a Gondorian ranger, as he shares his body with Celebrimbor, an ancient elf, as they attempt to fight back the forces of Mordor. As we know from the movies, they obviously aren't successful in their campaign. They do make an impact on the world, however.
Let's see what this thing can do.
I can control that siege beast, you idiot! Maggots!
Another siege beast is in range. Destroy it.
Shadow of War has a lot of interesting game mechanics that games of similar styles lack. An overview of the orc leaders in your area allows you to manipulate the orc command by killing or swaying them to join your side. The orc commanders each have their own individual personalities and even grow in strength as they combat other orcs or you perish at their hand. A perfect example would be the orc Douche, which I encountered early on in the campaign. His title was Douche Maggot Nest. When I first encountered him, he told me the story of how he was injured on the battlefield and infested with maggots who ate his rotting flesh. Now they live inside of him and are a part of him. He successfully killed me more than once, usually due to the fact that multiple orc leaders would gang up on me at the same time, and as a result, he became stronger and stronger through my campaign. Each time I would die to him, he would gain a new ability, making it more difficult for me to kill him. Every time I encountered him in the world, he would remember our previous battles and taunt me. I bet he found it pretty funny up until I chopped off his arm and stabbed him in the stomach. A satisfying and rewarding kill, you can be sure.
Blood always remembers, Tark. The pain you give me, my blood brother's gonna give back to you! Double!
Shadow of War brings all the necessary elements a good RPG has to the table. A progressive armor and loot system, a rewarding and comprehensive side quest system, and a very well done leveling system. The skills available to you in the character progression screen are very impactful to gameplay, and with 33 ability choices and 87 total unlockable ability modifiers, each player is able to craft their own gameplay experience to how they play best or find the most enjoyable. That's not to say the game doesn't suffer from issues. For example, there is no punishment for dying in Shadow of War. Quite the contrary, in fact, as when an orc commander kills you, they get stronger, offering you better loot the next time you encounter them. It's almost like the game rewards you for perishing. Something I was impressed by was Shadow of War's ability to maintain the Lord of the Rings timeline. A lot of people don't seem to realize that the Lord of the Rings movies take place over a 3.5-year period in the books. The game manages to maintain the integrity of the main storyline's timeline by events taking place over what seems like months and years. While keeping track of the time is not a prominent aspect of the game, it's definitely something I picked up on nonetheless. Alas, Shadow of War fails to bring anything new to the Middle-earth franchise. If you've played Shadow of Mordor before, then you've played this game as well, as Shadow of War is essentially a clone. It uses the same engine and gameplay as its predecessor, with only minor tweaks here and there. While they improve the gameplay over Shadow of Mordor, I find myself having difficulty justifying a $60 price tag. It feels more like a DLC than anything else. Nonetheless, if you played Shadow of Mordor and enjoyed it, and are looking for an extension, then this game is perfect for you. If you haven't played Shadow of Mordor, I highly recommend picking up Shadow of War. Don't worry too much about missing out on the storyline of Shadow of Mordor. If you're honestly curious to know what happens beforehand, just do a quick YouTube search and watch a breakdown of the Shadow of Mordor main questline. You won't be missing much. If you're a returning fan of Shadow of Mordor and, like me, can't justify spending $60 on what's essentially a large DLC, wait until it goes on a Steam sale or find it in the cheap games bin at Walmart for $15. It's well worth your time. And that's it. I'll see you next time on another episode of Honest Reviews.
So, you return from death again? The maggots will eat your face for this! You feel that? Reach for the maggots! You miss me? Meat! We will meet again when the time is right. Will someone skewer this talk? How's that? Blood always remembers talk. The pain you give me, my blood brother's gonna give back to you. Double.